We went over prison shanking briefly at a seminar I went to recently. Well, study group. We went over prison shanking. That stab? I call it the Oz stab. If you've ever seen HBO Oz, where they grab you and then they just start going wild and crazy, while they thrust the knife into their intended target. I guess in that case, it would be Uke getting stabbed, because he would be the receiver, wouldn't he? The receiver of the blade. So Japanese terminology would definitely apply in that case. But in any event, we went over stabbing and grouping. Then after that, I talked to somebody who claims to have stabbing experience in terms of having stabbed people and having to avoid being stabbed. When I had to deal with the knife, the first time, there's only two that I consciously remember, and I'll just leave it at that. The first time that I consciously remember, because it didn't happen, I was extremely young. I just didn't move or didn't do anything. The guy was just trying to intimidate me anyway, so I just let him intimidate me. And then what I did was I attacked him when I knew he no longer had the knife. That's what I did. The second time, it felt to me like the guy was going to stab me, because I gave him some money, and it felt like he was reaching in his pocket and wrapping his hands around something sharp. So when I felt that little shift in his hand and in his body, without thinking, I backed up. I backed up so fast that it scared him. And I just backed up. I backed up like I did, like you're doing going backwards, Suiyashi Judo. I backed up, and then I turned in fighting stance for Taekwondo. I blended both styles together perfectly. Backed up, shoot. And it seemed slow. It seemed to me like I was moving slow, but I know when I think all of a sudden things have slowed down, that's when I'm really moving fast. And the look on his face was like, whoa. He's, thank you. I don't know if he was going to give me change for the change, but it looked like, I glanced over at that hand, it looked like it was wrapping around something. So I'm convinced he was going to stab me. If that person ever sees this, and I wasn't, I apologize. But dude, I'm sorry. I thought you were reaching for something. I just backed up. Now, I didn't back up and start kicking him and punching him and throwing him down and stuff and break his wrist and everything. No, I got to a safe distance. So, I'm saying all that to say I am actually thinking about, once I get it down like I want, because I've learned some knife defenses, right? I learned at least 2 knife defenses that actually they are really super vague and general enough that I think they actually would cover, like, well, then I know 3. I know one for high level, mid level, low level. Oh, and the other time I got attacked, I thought it was a real knife, and he stabbed at me. What he was trying to do was ask me, "Hey, Mr. Caesar, if I come at you, can you really use a block or something to block this knife like the head instructor said?" But he came at me and he didn't clear it first. So I saw it. I blended in with the attack. I put his arm over my shoulder. I was going to throw him in what we call Ippon Seonagi in Judo. But I was doing it the way I learned it. One of the ways I learned it in the military. And we went over that in Tong Sudo too. They talked about it, but we didn't do it. where their elbow joint is over your shoulder blade, so you're actually putting stress on the elbow and could possibly break their arm if they don't go over when you throw them. And I was moving right into that. And I heard, it was because I heard laughter. And he was going, Cecil, 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 like he was, like scared or something. So then I looked, and then I saw that the knife was rubber. And then I put him down because he was gone. He was gone right on his head. He was gone. But he caught me off guard, so, hey, he caught me off guard. He shouldn't have just sprung a knife on a brother like that. Even if the knife looked real enough, in a split second, he just shouldn't have sprung a knife on me like that. So anyway, I want to put together knife defenses. I want to link the knife defenses to kata forms tool pumse that people know. Because I am convinced that a lot of the moves that are in the forms can be used to defend yourself in practically everything, every situation. Especially some of the stuff, especially the mid-level movements, parrying movements. Those things can be used to defend yourself, to me, the way you can defend yourself from a knife. And I'll give one away. Even the X block, I was thinking that, man, this X block is just not working. Because when I would try to do the X block, right, for a while there, I was just doing the X block. I would be doing it with my son and daughter. I'm like, I'm trying to really, really, really be overly ginger and not hurt them. And they just weren't respecting the block. But I mean, my son's a man now. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to really worry about hurting this boy this time. Because I was like, I don't know if we really got good knife defenses in my system, right? Yeah, go ahead and stab at me, right? He's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And he stabbed at me, and I did the X block properly. And his hand it was like his hand just exploded open. And he was getting ready to fall. I was like, oh, my bad. And then what happened was, that is what happened the first time the X block was done to me back in the day when I stabbed the teacher and he hit my arm. It was like, I was like, oh, I've been too ginger because I'm trying not to hurt these people that I'm practicing with. I was really trying to reach this thing where I would do 0 damage to the person attacking me, even if they're trying to attack me. So unless I learn Aikido and do that, that's not going to happen. So I was like, oh, okay, I see what my flaw has been. This really does work. It's just been me being overly, overly, overly careful. Because when I did a knife defense one time, this was years ago. I think it was right after I got Shodan. I did a knife defense, and a guy came. It was another mid-level defense. It was funny because when I didn't think about it, I just did it. And then he came in, I just did it again when I didn't put too much thought into it. As soon as I started trying to analyze it and pick it apart what I was doing, then I was having trouble with it. But whenever I just let my body do what I was taught, no problem. And it's a defense that people will swear doesn't work. I know they'll swear it doesn't work, but it does. And now I know why it works thanks to Kyusho. I know exactly why it works. So don't hold your breath waiting for it. I really want to get it down. But that's just something I thought I'd document now. If nothing else, as a reminder to myself. And that's something I want to do in the future, is to explicitly show how what you already know can be used to protect you against Shanks, especially even the prison shank. Peace.